Welcome everybody to hour 6 of our episode 50 1 year anniversary show. I have with me at the moment two wonderful guests that have been on the show for both of our job discussion shows. We have Layla, who's been on our tank show, and also the end of the game show, or not end of the game show, but rating show. I believe we had that as well. And then we have Miunih, who is on recently on our healer show, both on the exact same team. You guys both do healing there. Well, no, you don't both do healing. Miunih used to do healing. That's right.
Because used to do healing. I'm no longer healing.
You're no longer healing.
He put the staff down for another staff.
Too much. And
yeah, I
picked up the other stuff.
How's that working out? Are you really enjoying Black Mage?
It's not bad. It's not healing, but it's
right.
It's not bad. I mean, if I had a chance to play monk, I would play monk 100%. I think it's the best monk fun class.
I can't. I want to level it up.
People hate me for it. But Black
you'll have to run that one by the front office.
I mean, monk and Black Mage do the same thing. Come on.
Yeah, the thing is, you tunnel, you don't think about mechanics, you don't even have to do mechanics.
Yeah.
You just worry about your DPS.
I've ever thought of that one.
Yeah. Layla, you're still playing Warrior, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be playing Warrior in 3.2.
Okay, awesome. Are you even thinking about going to Paladin? Or...
I'm always going to be flexible. People will, I guess, mostly know me as a warrior, but I'm going to play whatever the fight calls for.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a fight that calls for double hollow ground or double tempered will or double cover, I mean, I'm going to be playing a paladin. If if Dark Knight for whatever reason sees a need, then I'm comfortable enough playing Dark Knight. I'm just whatever the team needs, I'll do.
Awesome, man. That's a real team player, by the way. Actually going out and making sure that this stuff happens. You guys aren't learning with Leroy anymore? Well, I don't know. Maybe.
Leroy's not with us anymore.
Yeah, because he would only say Black Mage, I would assume, right?
No, not really.
Really?
He can play tanks if necessary.
He played White Mage.
He did play White Mage throughout 2.0 and 2.1. So there is a little bit of class flexibility when it comes to Leroy, but for the most part, just because of the people we surrounded him with, he would most of the time end up just staying on Black Mage. Or on the rare occasion we saw Leroy Summoner, but that was, very, very rare. Once in a blue moon.
All right, I've already started on the tangents. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, no sweat.
Alrighty. But anyways, tonight, guys, we're going to actually talk about the state of raiding. We have some pretty interesting in the conversation, because you guys have both been pretty serious raiders for a while.
Yeah, I would.
Not to the level you are right now, but I mean, you guys have been like before then. You were still doing pretty serious raiding. You just weren't like where you are at the moment, right?
Yeah, I think both of us have been playing since beta,
right?
And raiding since beta. Me has been raiding much longer than I have in Final Fantasy because he played all of 1.0.
Mm-hmm. And so tonight I want to bring both of you guys here because I know that you guys have some really good experience with raiding and how players should. How often do you guys play outside your group? Just out of curiosity.
Outside of our group, with other groups, you mean?
Yeah, but people you just don't know at all.
Pretty often, honestly. Like we have a big
these days, yeah.
So it's usually like people are missing a class and they say, "Yo, can you fill in?" And we just fill in, and it's fun.
Okay. The main reason I was asking that is because I was wondering if you guys had a really good glimpse into what a lot of other people were doing outside of what you guys are doing too, by playing with these other people, and maybe you have your own frustrations.
Strategy-wise, you mean?
Strategy-wise, just anything that they do, and you commonly see these other people who are raiding, and maybe you see mistakes they're making that are super obvious to you.
I've seen actually a lot of things that I liked. One of the things that I guess might be a bit of a misconception to some and maybe not to others is when you take a group like my former group, Team Updog, the strategies we develop, they're strategies that are meant to get through a fight very quickly with very minimal time invested into the development of that strategy. And a lot of times that means the strategy that comes out as the final result, it's not going to be an optimized strategy. The groups that go over their strategy with a fine-tooth comb and really work out all the kinks for many, many weeks at a time, they're going to end up with the more optimal strategies. And those are the types of strategies that you see when you branch out and play with other groups. So while our strategies may have netted us the fastest kill, they might not have been the most ideal or optimal for a given fight. So it is important to play with groups outside of, my own group, for example, so that I have that broad spectrum in perspective.
Okay. Miunih, are you kind of on the same page there?
Yeah, well, in a way, like usually it differs per fight. Like if you take A1 or A2, for example, we didn't put much thought in it. Like they were beaten in a day. We made strats on the go. We used them and we killed the fight, and we didn't really think about it. You used the same strats to kill the fight next week as well, because why wouldn't you? You know how to kill the fight. But like A3, especially A4, they were longer. Like A3 lasted for a week, A4 lasted for 5 weeks, which is way too long.
Yeah.
And even like you start to talk with other groups, like for example the Hello Ground of the Living Dead that you use in the first hand. We didn't actually use at first because we didn't really think about it. And another group came and say, that's a good idea. It might optimize your DPS. And over the time of like the week, we saw like small, sometimes big changes to the strategies we already had to increase the DPS and to beat the enrage check. So if you look at like fights early in the week, I would say our stats are like really unoptimized, kind of shitty. But if you look at like A3 and especially A4, I think our stats are pretty much very optimized actually, and maybe even better than other people.
Okay, there you go. That's
only after a significant amount of time invested into optimizing the strategies, however.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I want to lead this into talking about the current state of rating. You guys definitely have lots of experience with it. And I want to know, first off, with Final Fantasy, it's a different rating scene than a lot of other games. I think it's different. Maybe you guys think differently. But what are some of the good things that make Final Fantasy 14 rating actually good currently in the community?
Miu, why don't you go while I think?
Well, I wouldn't take Alexander with as an example, but the last Binding Coil, what the Binding Coil really had was a really good story, a really good atmosphere. You went in there, even the music. It felt all so epic, and the last boss, but you see Bahamut, you fight Bahamut, you see Ekmon, it's fucking massive. You feel so small compared to Bahamut.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was a really, really great experience. And even seeing, like, after the movie, after T12, there's like an actual CGI movie. That was like one of the best things I've ever seen in like a raid. It was amazing. And I really hope to see that like return in Alex, if they can.
And in A11.
Have a more epic feeling to it.
Right. All right. So you think Final Fantasy rating can go into that point to where it's feeling epic.
Definitely.
But there are some points, like recently, people kind of disagree with you with Alex, I think.
Alex is, honestly, it's boring. It's not that epic. It's about cheese. Like, I mean, who the fuck cares about cheese? I want to see the big bosses. Like, when I saw that transform thing, I thought that is cool shit. I want to see that.
Yeah.
Going from dragons to goblins.
Yeah. It's a downgrade, but I hope that we'll be surprised in the next patch. Yeah. That we'll see epic things.
They could do some really epic things with robots. You have a lot of room to work. So dragons to robots.
The Voltron thing looked amazing. I really hope it's as cool as it looked.
Yeah, it has to be. It really does. So. Layla, did you find out what you think is really good?
Well, I mean, it's probably not under the category of rating, but it's what I find interesting in Final Fantasy rating versus other game rating in other games. I do like the class flexibility in this game. Through the armory system, the ability to play multiple jobs on one character, that does add a flavor to rating in this game that isn't present in other games. And it's honestly a flavor that probably doesn't get utilized as much as it should in progression rating. And that's something that I can highlight maybe later on in our show today. tonight rather.
Right.
But I would probably highlight that as my favorite thing about rating in this game versus other games.
Okay. Well, I mean, with all the good stuff that you get with the game, there's obviously things that you probably don't like with the rating scene, right? It's not like everything is a great. I mean, we could
There's
easily
always
just say
bad.
we could just say A4 Savage if you guys want to, and just say that's the bad. But if you guys wanted, to, yeah, if you had something that you like, well, this is really not so great within the rating scene, and they should probably improve upon this in some way. What would that be?
The big one is, and it's the big elephant in the room these days, is the patch cycles.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's the biggest negative when you think about rating, at least for, you know, the groups that I've been a part of. The patch cycles. When did Alexander Gordius come out? I mean, that it must have came out.
I don't even
Well, this is
remember.
like one of those examples that's like it's rough. It's really rough to kind of because this is one of their longest dry spells before Heavensward came out. That was really long, so it was kind of like long before Heavensward. Then it was long again.
Yeah.
But we're talking about when I'm guessing you're talking about Savage, right?
Sure. Well, yeah. We'll say Savage. It must have been. It was July 20 something. I mean, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, a
Over
long
6
time ago.
months.
So we're talking about we're edging into somewhere between 7 to 8 months, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, the patch
So
cycle
long.
I think is the biggest roadblock for enjoyment. Outside of that, you have the obvious things of we're restricted to 4 bosses a tier.
Mhm.
It's been that way since second coil.
Yeah.
Our arguably first coil if you erase turn 3 from the equation, which we will for this argument.
Okay.
So
Good enough.
the loot system saw a vast improvement in 3.0 versus 2.0.
Definitely.
So I won't highlight that as a negative, but I will highlight that as a former negative. The lack of a token system in Realm Reborn versus Heavensward. At least there's some pseudo token system in Heavensward through the books and the tomes that drop from each turn. But in Realm Reborn that wasn't present, so you were at the mercy of loot RNG when it came to progression and when it came to anything. Prime example was when we were entering Final Coil progression, our White Mage and Paladin still did not have high elegant weapons. That is all the way of all of 2.2 and all of 2.3. Our Black Mage and Paladin never got high elegant weapons.
Yeah.
So we're entering Final Coil with the tome weapons, whatever they were called back then. The I-110 weapons instead of the I-115 ones, and we weren't able to get them their I-115 weapons until halfway through turn 13 progression. When it just got to a point where we could not proceed unless we had our Black Mage with an I-115 weapon to get through the ad phase of turn 13. So I will note that they have made improvements to their loot system in Heavensward, and I want to see them continue making loot improvements. Maybe through, I made a suggestion on one of your former shows of maybe improving the loot system by adding mini bosses to the turns, and having those mini bosses maybe drop accessories or oils or something, and spread the loot table out that way, so that the larger boss of the turn then drops very important left side pieces or a shield or even a weapon if it's the final turn. I think that that would add some variety and some health to the loot tables.
Well, I mean, like that also forces players in, like, if they want to be really hardcore, into going into these weird situations where, I have to play 2 characters, and I got to raid twice a week, and whoever gets the best loot, that's the character I'm going to run with on the next stage of progression. I would assume.
But it's already in that state, however.
Yeah, it's still in that because you can't really get out of that, especially if you're like doing in-game progression.
Yeah.
So like world first progression, you kind of have to get to that point. But I mean that makes it to where whoever has the most investment in multiple characters kind of has a little bit more advantage over. But it still comes down to RNG, but it's brutal.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it is a time investment. The players that invest the most amount of time are going to have an advantage, and the players who dedicate themselves enough to have multiple characters are going to have an advantage. It's been that way since really since Second Coil. Second Coil was the first tier that we saw a lot of play with alts. To my knowledge, we didn't see a lot of play with alts in Binding Coil. I could
Well,
be
I mean,
wrong.
tanks didn't really DPS as much in the first one too, right? It wasn't like as big of a factor. Like there's a
Tank
lot of
DPS
things.
Tank DPS didn't see a whole lot of optimization until Second Coil, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Right.
played safe anyway. Like there wasn't really a DPS check. Like
Yeah.
that was halting you. So why would you
It
not
wasn't
play
until
safe?
Exactly.
about turn 8. It wasn't until turn 8 and turn
Yeah,
9 that
definitely.
people really started paying attention to their damage as a tank.
Yeah.
Turn 6 and turn 7, you weren't really caring. You were just getting through mechanics. A lot of times it was safer to hold DPS than push DPS. So,
All right. Miunih, I want to ask you as well. Is there anything else that you would want to add to something that you want to see that's really bad with the state of Final Fantasy 14 rating?
I'm not sure if it's really like two rating, but it has a big effect on rating. It's like the lack of both skill trees and gear sets. It's something other raid games have and are amazing. You can mix the gear, you can specify your skill trees, and it really like it splits the player base more. Like you see the really good people being really good, and like the people who don't really know what to do just copy the skill trees, and it doesn't really work out. But I do miss like the customization, the specialization that you could have in an endgame raid, especially. Well, in WoW you had like different sets of Warlock. I don't know if people play Warlock, but you had a Desto Warlock, which was like pure hard DPS. And you had Affliction Warlock, which was DOTs and damage over time, basically. And the way you played them in different fights was completely different. Like some fights was better to have a Desto Warlock, and some fights was better to have an Affliction Warlock. And you don't really have that kind of specialization in this game, and I kind of miss it. It really.
well, you do
It
to
could
an
really add
extent.
some depth.
You have it to an extent in the armory system, in the
Yeah.
ability to change to have multiple classes on a single character. This is what I was alluding to earlier. Um, that is the avenue of specialization that they're hoping to use, and it does get utilized. I know we utilize it quite a bit in our team. I understand where Miu is coming from. He would like more of it. I don't
Well,
think we're
yeah,
gonna see
and right
skill
now,
trees in Final Fantasy.
gearing two different jobs though is a pain, and that was mainly
It
during
is.
the first cycle.
Yeah.
This cycle will be a little bit different, but that was completely they ruled it out basically in that first cycle. So
Yeah, what's funny is
Yeah.
we were just talking about this the other day. When a patch starts, the very first week of the patch, that's the week that's most flexible for groups. That's the week where your class composition is the most flexible. And as the patch goes on and as weeks progress and you start spending gear on tome gear, the class locked gear, well, at least in 3.0 it was class locked because it was the class specific gear. I don't think that'll be the case in 3.2, but I might be wrong. If they're
I
at
don't
least
think so.
if they're following the Realm Reborn formula of 2.0 had the class specific myth gear, and then 2.2 and 2.4 it was a broader set of classes on each piece of gear. If they're sticking to the way it was in 3.0, as time goes on in the patch, you're going to be less and less flexible as you start to purchase gear for a specific class. And specifically when you get to that weapon week, when you're spending tomes on a weapon, that's when you really start pigeonholing yourself into a composition. So I think it is kind of unfortunate the way they have it set up is the farther into a patch you go, the less flexible you become. I think that probably is a little unfortunate, and I wish it wasn't that way. But I do really enjoy those opening weeks, those first few opening weeks of the patch when everything is,
Yeah, that's the most
is
fun.
very flexible and you're not locked into a specific class yet. Because there's a lot of play you can do there.
yeah, and hopefully this run will only take most
Yeah,
groups
please.
like a week.
Please.
Please, yeah.
No
Oh,
more
dude.
5 weeks. It's horrible.
Yeah, man, that is. I still don't know how you guys did that and walked out alive. And like not with like scars and
Well,
just like
there's only 4 of us
mental.
left.
Yeah.
So
Is it all internal damage that you guys have? Is it all like something in your brain?
Miu's got some PTSD, I think, but
Yeah. I don't want to see this anymore. I never want to see it anymore. If I see it, I'm done. I'm like,
You
fuck
don't
this
never
game.
want to see that
I
mechanic.
never want to see it again. It's
So Voltron
bad.
goes out there and he shoots out Nessie orbs onto the ground.
Yeah, I just abandon the group. It's like,
All right, guys, good
take
luck.
another
Chia was joking earlier about how in Realm Reborn the reoccurring theme of the Binding Coils was dive bombs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What if the reoccurring theme of Alexander is just Missy?
it's gonna kill me. That's-
Could
I don't want
happen.
to see it.
Could happen.
Oh my god. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's actually go in. We mentioned this a little bit while we were talking about a couple of good and bad concepts in rating, but when we're actually going into the differences, you were very active in 2.x and 3.x with in-game rating.
Mhm.
So, has the meta? I believe the meta has changed. In my opinion, it definitely has had some
Definitely.
drastic changes to
It
it.
has.
But when people are coming from 2.x, say they like end it in 2.x and they're coming back to Heaven's Horde, what are some things that they really gotta get a grasp on in order to still be serious about rating?
Well, it depends if they're a progression rater or not in Realm Reborn. In Realm Reborn, progression rating largely revolved around defensive playstyle. And what do I mean by that?
Reducing as much damage as possible, right?
Your foremost concern when approaching a new fight was defense and HP and your team's EHP, your effective HP, and ways you can increase that EHP. That's your foremost concern when you're approaching a new fight. You're not concerned with DPS checks or making rages. Mitigate first, DPS second. That was the philosophy of Realm Reborn progression rating. That philosophy does not work anymore in 3.0. And it was around Alexander 3 Savage that philosophy had to be thrown out the window, because at least when it came to Gordius, and it remains to be seen how Midas will play out, but when it came to Gordius, the DPS checks were too severe to be worrying about and to be putting mitigation and defense on the forefront of your concerns. We had to start sacrificing mitigation and sacrificing defense in favor of offense to make it through the fight at very low gear levels. And that is something that it will be a stark contrast to what somebody from Realm Reborn might be used to.
Okay. Do you have any other thoughts to add to that, Miunih, or pretty much same thing?
It's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
You go from playing very safe to very reckless and unsafe and taking the risk that you wouldn't do in 2.0.
Well, I want to also ask you, Miunih. So when people come into the game and they're like, I'm selecting a healer.
Yeah.
I'm going to get into this MMO as a healer. They are not thinking, oh, I need to learn how to DPS on a healer.
No, and they shouldn't.
Right.
Like,
And so,
honestly, you play a healer, you're gonna heal. It's logical. I would do the same thing.
right. And so, but it also adds a huge dynamic to the game that says, hey, with people doing more damage, and this is something that helps you skip through mechanics sometimes too, even if like it wasn't a serious check, you could still apply that to old content
Definitely,
and make things
yeah.
easier. But do you guys, Miunih, do you prefer the way they do it now as the way they had it?
I kind of like both. Like, I'm pretty sure some of you saw the videos of like T12 and stuff. I wasn't really in Cleric that much. I liked it, and when the Bennu phase came and there was like the big explosions, I liked that. I actually had like a healing rotation. It felt good. It felt safe. It felt like I had a job to do, which was to keep people alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then in A3 you start to wonder like, how much can I push my DPS? How much can I cleric stance and not get people killed and hope people don't miss this region or miss that benediction or benediction of like year 2. You start to change your mindset, and instead of like keeping people alive, you're gonna start to wonder like, I hope he doesn't die, and just try to keep the DPS up. It's a very different mindset, and I think I prefer just the pure healing one. It's safer, it's more comfortable, it's lazy.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, it's like a
it,
lot of people coming into the game. That's what their expectations are, and I feel like
def
that can also lead into people not wanting to play the game anymore because I came in with this mindset, but I'm ending off in something having to do something that I don't want to do. So why do
yeah.
I want to do the in-game content? But that's
Well, yeah. Most fights don't really need like a DPS on the healer. Like I think all up to A3 and A4, it's like you can just pure full-time heal if you want. So, like it doesn't really make any difference to the group as long as the group is fine with it. But
right.
when you get to A3 and A4, you just have to DPS, otherwise you just won't make the DPS check.
Yeah, during the early few weeks where people were still getting gear, that was
Yeah,
absolutely a requirement. Layla,
definitely.
what are your thoughts on it? Are you kind of on the same page where, kind of on the fence, you like the challenge, but you wish it wasn't so?
So really what you're asking me is, do I prefer 2.0 rating or 3.0 rating?
Yeah, yeah. So that's the question. Yeah.
Ooh, I wasn't expecting to have to answer that. That's a tough one. I think both have their merits. I loved the massive attention to detail that was required in Realm Reborn when it came to focusing on your team's mitigation. I thought the idea that the strategy that was, I don't know if I can say this, but the strategy that I feel that Lucrezia sort of pioneered, being the double monk meta of Final Coil, and they popularized it. Maybe they didn't pioneer it, but they popularized it in 2.3 during Savage. You know, some people might assume that party composition was designed to, net them the highest DPS possible, by stacking the monks and having one monk dragon kick for the other monk and the other one spamming bootshine. Uh, that's not necessarily the case. The strength of the double monk party composition really came down to the fact that you have two melee who can go Fists of Earth, and they're nearly as tanky as your two tanks at that point. You have very sturdy DPS, and when you have very sturdy DPS, that opens up a lot of possibility for ways to deal with mechanics. Your two very tanky monks are able to handle mechanics differently than the rest of your non-tank party members. And the fact that you are also bringing two mantras into the party that are going to increase
Definitely.
it's going to increase your team's EHP through shielding. Anytime you have an ability that can increase your team's EHP, that's a massive boon for progression, because what that does is that makes it so you can get through a fight's mechanic at a lower gear level than intended, which is that's progression. That's what
Mhm.
your goal is. That's the number one crux of being able to get through a fight quickly. Um, so when you're bringing in two classes like monks that have tons of defensive utility like that, I think it's really fun to design party compositions like that and find advantages in that regard. So I really enjoyed Realm Reborn and the defensive mindset in that regard. What I enjoy about 3.0, however, is the other end of the spectrum of the massive attention to detail that we've had to take to increase our party's net DPS. Uh,
It's
I
a
love
completely
the fact
different game still.
they're honestly very different games. They really are, and I love the amount of time that I've had to sit down and speak to Fold and Coldy. And I have a new team obviously now, but in my former team, speaking with Fold and Coldy, um, making sure we map out the trick attack with the battle voice foe properly, and making sure we're getting as much potency out of every interval of a fight as we can. That's something that probably wouldn't have been part of the conversation in Realm Reborn as much, not nearly as much as it is now in Heavensward. And that part of rating is fun as well. And also theory crafting new party compositions that are going to net higher DPS than other party compositions. That's also really enjoyable. So you see how I'm torn. I
Yeah.
have these things I enjoy from both eras. I would say probably at this point in my Final Fantasy life, I would give the nod to Heaven's Word rating, just because of the fact that the more effort you put into maximizing your party's efficiency and composition, the more results you're going to get. And I think that's a healthy and rewarding system.
Okay. That is a very good answer, by the way. So basically, you guys both like each one. You enjoy. It almost sounds like you just enjoy raiding.
I just enjoy Final Fantasy.
I gotcha. So I'm going to try to go through some of these. I might not be able to hit on all these topics that we have listed out here, although they're all like stuff I want to ask you. But I figure it's kind of important that we go into 3.2 rating differences that you guys want to talk about, and with not giving out as much stuff. I'm pretty sure a lot of in-game teams might be thinking a lot of the similar things that you guys are doing too. So one of the questions here is, so melding is going to be a huge part in rating coming up in 3.2. It's going to be insane because you're customizing every little bit at that point. A healer's going accuracy, right?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So how is the new melding system actually going to affect what you guys are going to be doing for 3.2?
I don't know if it's going to affect us any differently than it's going to affect everyone else. What the melding system is going to do is it's going to allow greater gear customization. It's going to allow more gear flexibility. I alluded to this, I think, the last time I was on your show, of the worst thing that can happen during progression is you get a gear upgrade. It's 20 item levels higher than your previous gear that you were wearing in that slot. But you can't wear it because you're now down 20 accuracy. And there's no way to make up the 20 accuracy.
Which happened before, and it's really
Which has happened. It happened a lot with bards last year. I think there's a lot of bards out there that might be able to relate to that scenario.
Is there like just a question, is there a threshold where you're like, I can live with being this much off in accuracy because there's a chance I'm not going to miss? No, it's always 100%.
I always rated with 100% accuracy. I have never bought in the philosophy of, oh, well, it's just 3 under cap.
All right. Okay.
I like consistency. I will sacrifice whatever it takes to have that consistency.
Okay.
But the one thing that the melding system will do is maybe allow you to make up that 20 accuracy through melding, melding other pieces that you already have, remelding them. I think that is a very healthy addition to the game. I'm very glad to see it. I think the materia system was a dying breed before these proposed changes. I mean, it was on its last limbs.
I pretty much questioned the melding and materia system in the game for the longest time because it didn't really make any sense to me.
It had such a small
I mean, they make it like a big part of leveling up with the gear, but you're not going to spend time to meld lower level gear.
You don't really do anything with it. It's like
and you lose stats because of it. So you want gear that doesn't have the slots because you don't want to spend money on it. But Miunih, are you excited about the melding changes? Or
I'm pretty excited. It really means like the difference. Like I was talking about gear sets, and this is kind of a good way to increase that specialization. Like there's gonna be from a black mage point of view now, there's gonna be spell speed black mages, and there's gonna be crit black mages, and there's like a completely different play style to them. The only thing I'm a little bit annoyed about is like Square Enix thinks that piety is a main stat, which I kind of agree with, but kind of don't agree with. And for healers not to be able to basically not melt their main stats, like black mage lost their spell speed. Healers off the piety and they can't melt it. Like what are you gonna melt? Like the other stats don't really do anything much for healers. Like spell speed is nice, but it's kind of wasted.
Gotta get that crit ad low, right?
Kind of. So probably every single healer is just gonna melt accuracy and just say fuck it to all the others. It's like it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you do that? Especially with the meta that's now.
Yeah, I'm not. There's a lot of people who go out there and I was joking about the crit ad low stuff, guys. I don't support stacking crit on healers, and that's just me. And I'm a new healer, so I don't really.
It's
know
not
what
a
I'm
bad thing, actually.
It's not horrible, but
I've taken a liking to crit. It's nice when it crits.
It's that's the thing. It's nice when it crits. It's not something you can depend on. But okay, well let me ask. This is definitely relevant for Layla. What about vitality with tanks? They're making a huge difference to it. is it going to actually change anything, or is it just,
No.
oh well, people are going to have more health now?
It's not
That's
going to
it.
change anything.
Yeah.
It's not going to change anything. You might. So with the new damage formulas, we don't know what they are yet. Nobody knows for sure what they are yet.
Mhm.
Nobody knows for sure how vitality and how strength is going to factor into a tank's attack power yet. Until patch day, we're probably not going to know. The only thing that we do know is that you're probably going to do a little less damage than you are now, and bosses are probably going to hit a little harder than they do now. That's the only thing that's going to change it. It's not going to change your playstyle. You're still going to be entering Deliverance and Defiance the same amount of time as you were before. You're still going to be mitigating and not mitigating the same amount as you were before. The gameplay of a tank is not going to change. The values that you see on your character sheet are.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. What I saw,
That's all.
yeah, I don't see. I mean, they might make it to where, yeah, if you really want to make huge sacrifices to health, you can do stacking strength, and it might be a little bit. I don't know. I can't see it being. I think they also even mentioned that strength is not going to be as powerful as Vit in those terms either. But I don't really know.
So I've heard that that's been cited quite a few times this week. I myself have not seen that source, so I'm not going to act on that premise just yet. However, that is the rumor that I've heard. Yes, is that slaying accessories will net you less damage than fending accessories. We'll see. I have no source for where that rumor has come from.
Yeah.
We always stay skeptical anyway. If it's like if we haven't got the information, like
So-
it's maybe, so we're not going to count on it.
The funny thing that I have, the highlight I have with you, Layla, on the show at the very beginning when I was doing my reel, was you actually talking about be ready to change, be ready to just do whatever you need to do, and always never set something in stone. And that's not word for word, but that's pretty much what you're trying to get off. And I that's exactly that relates to the subject right now. Don't
It does.
Yeah.
It relates perfectly. You want so take for example. Let me use a really lame example, but it's an example. This is a really lame example, but whatever. We'll roll with that. I'm pot committed at this point.
Okay.
So I heard that about a month and a half ago, I had heard that they were going to be making changes to the way vitality works for tanks. I didn't know anything other than that. All I knew is that they were going to be changing vitality. So I started wondering, well, what could they possibly change? And one of the things that I thought that might be healthy for the game is if they made it so that vitality somehow contributes to a tank's attack power. And it seems that that's the direction they're going. But because I was, wondering and, willing to think about what if this, what if that, I started acting on those assumptions and planning for each different one. And one of the ways I planned for it was I emptied the market board of all the 300 gil draconian vitality potions.
You're the guy.
I'm the guy that bought all the 300 gil draconian vitality potions on your server because a month and a half ago I thought this might happen, and lo and behold, they're all 30k now in the market board. So,
oh my god.
A funny story, but it somewhat relates.
I knew it.
Well, it's actually a good point you make. Like when I said about the main stat with piety, there's no piety pots. There's every single main stat, but piety. So I still don't get it. Like it's stupid. There's ethos, but they just give that. It's the same thing as a potion. They just give a value, but they don't permanently increase it for like 15 seconds. I mean, a piety pot would be completely useless. I don't see any use of it.
Right.
But the point is, like, why would piety be a main stat? And it's the same with fit and strength. Like sometimes I think they don't really think about it because you do have fit food, which will add to the tank's DPS, but you don't have like strength
Essentially,
food.
we don't know yet.
Yeah. Oh, and Ark posted up in the chat. I don't know if you wanted to look at it. The source he found for what they were saying. If you
We have a source on that. Okay.
yeah, so he had a source in there. So it's interesting to check out. Piety pots. God damn it. It's like one of those things I should have known, but I didn't do it. I want to ask a few viewer questions here because we're getting closer to the end of this segment, which is crazy to me. This is weird. I don't like ending after...
It's really quick, yeah.
Yeah, after just a short time here. I feel like we definitely should have had like a 2 to 3 hour show on this. Simply on the notes that you had in there, which was, it's not a huge amount of notes, but...
I mean, there's always time in the future.
Yeah, there is absolutely no... When you guys are done with your first week there, at least.
Hopefully it won't be 5 weeks.
Yeah.
But,
No,
week.
once that
That's
whole,
fine.
you know what I should do is once you guys are done with that whole segment and everyone's kind of gotten to that point, they're like, okay, well, we can start saying strategies and now things are a little bit more common knowledge between people and that really see. Then I can get you guys on to talk about it, and that'll be actually kind of exciting.
It usually takes a while because we
Are you
wait for
guys-
other peoples to clear it as well.
Yeah, and I don't even know if you guys are on the same team at the moment. Are you?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
are. We are.
Okay.
We are.
I just assumed that you guys might have joined back on the same team.
So the majority of us from our old group that are still playing together, with the exception of one. Chia is playing with a different team, but Fold, Mew, and myself are still playing together.
Okay, awesome. I'm rooting for you guys. You guys have
appreciate
been
it.
Me
a
too.
blast.
We're rooting for you.
Oh, thank you. I might get it. I almost have A4S down. I think if I could get it.
This is the week, man. This is the week.
This is it.
Oh dear lord. I've had a rotating door of members and it's been kind of rough.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, and when you raid like 6 hours a week, it's you can't really do much about it. Okay. Anyways, I want to get some questions in here, and we have Goofy. I'm not gonna get all your questions in here. You have a lot of them in here, but I'll get some of these in here. And so this is something I might have asked you on the last show. I figured we might as well go over it again. Goofy Bra wanted to know, Layla, if that whiteboard is used for progression notes.
I think that question
used-
gets asked every time I come on here.
Yeah, every time.
That whiteboard has never been used for progression, but it has been used for Warrior once.
Yeah, I want to get a whiteboard behind me and just have like random like notes down there. That's people
You know
might.
what's really fun about whiteboards? I don't know if anyone else is like this, but I sure am. When I'm really struggling with a problem, be it like a math equation or just a critical thinking problem, just some form of problem solving. One of my most preferred ways of tackling that problem is standing up and just staring right at it. And I can do that on that whiteboard.
Right.
I can just stare at it face to face.
Yeah.
And put the fear of God in it.
Fear me, whiteboard.
Yeah.
This is a funny question. It'll take 2 seconds to answer, and we've already kind of answered it in the show, but I figured we might as well. Miunih, I'm going to ask you this. How would you feel? This is from Skyla Rolo. How would you feel about another Nessie and Alexander?
Oh, fuck it. I don't want it. Never again.
I think Layla,
Actually, I don't really
you.
matter. Like, I'm a black mage, so why would I care? So
That's
so
true.
why not?
Layla, I'm guessing you wouldn't want to really. See
I
that.
love Missy.
Oh,
Let's
do
have
you?
it again.
Okay, there you go. You heard it from
Such
him.
a headache.
Via V, Miunih, would you recommend getting the relic for White Mage?
Definitely.
I
Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
You
even
can-
if it's
I'm
not
pretty
optimal
damn
now.
sure- Exactly. You can
Yeah.
you can change the stats later on. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got here. I'll ask another goofy question here. Goofy Bra. This is for both you guys. I think we might have asked you this before. What is your favorite fight of all time? Either raid, trial, or anything at all?
I've answered this before, so ask Mia.
Mio. All right, I'm gonna ask Miunih.
I'll answer it
Yeah, I
again.
answered this before as well. But it actually changed, because when I think about it, Ravana was one of the fondest memories I had from 3.0. It was like where Elysium, which was born out of DNT and CL, really started to work together and try to get the fight down. And the whole fight is fun. It's like it's just a good memory fight. It's a good fight.
Okay.
Ravana, that's an interesting pick. I wouldn't have expected that. But I guess, yeah, that is sort of where Elysium, found its training wheels. I think I've answered this before once, but my favorite fight changes from month to month. But turn 12 will always be special to me. So I think I have to go with turn 12.
It's the first world first anyway, so it's really
It's the
special.
first
in
world
general.
first that Mio and I got together, and the first world first that we both got individually. So it's always going to be special, but it's also just a very interesting fight. Mio and I both, we really liked the final coil story and immersion that went along with the rating, frontier. But and that part of the turn 12 was cool. Fighting Louis Swall and Phoenix, that was all really fun and interesting. And then the world first that went with it, there's some sentimental value there.
Right.
Definitely.
Okay, so we got another question here, and you guys can answer this as fast as you will, and I won't be too upset. Heroes X81. Which of the bosses from the trailer has you actually concerned and worried? We know which one is hyped. Of course, Voltron for me. We got that down.
Okay. I can answer this. I can tell you which one concerns me.
Okay.
The one that concerns me the most is the one with the ball rolling around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
I'm gonna die to it.
because I know this game's positional updating.
Yeah.
This is not Ocarina of Time. You're not dodging a rolling Goron down a hill. Okay, this game has some wonky positional updating, and that ball scares me. So
It's gonna fuck us up.
I'm worried about that ball.
Yeah.
I'm actually more worried about if you look closely at Tony, you can see like a black cat, and I'm terrified of polymorph or any kind of stuff. So I don't want to be polymorphed into a black cat.
You didn't like that
and I
Gilgamesh fight where you turned into a chicken?
Exactly, I fucking hated it.
I've never done that fight before, by the way.
Wow, really?
I've never done Gilgamesh.
You need to do Hildebrandt storyline.
I've never done a single Hildebrand quest.
You just lost some people, man. You just lost some people. Okay. Anyways, I'm gonna get into some of these more trolly questions real quick because I want to get them out of here. Zero Signal. Question for Miunih. Are you team Cap or team Iron Man?
Ooh.
Well, I'm gonna chase away 50% of the viewers, so
Okay.
I hate Captain America because he's so goody two shoes, and I fucking hate it.
So you're not gonna chase too many
Captain
people away
Iron
with
Man.
that.
Captain Iron Man.
Yeah.
Easy.
Okay. So let's go into Frey Yorai. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. I'm gonna say Frey. Miunih, please talk about how much you love astrology and how it's the best healer job. I think we've had this conversation.
Yes. I like all the balance if you get them.
Yeah, no, I love astrology. I think Kerr's going to be switching to it, and we're going to be healing with it next patch. And it might be better. It might be the
You should
same.
double Astro.
I hate.
I want to do it, but
It's more RNG. It's more balance.
they're fixing RNG a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I hate cards. I hate cards.
All right, Dragonair. Question for me. You have a lot of troll questions here. I think people like to make fun of you, man. Yeah. Okay. Are you going to get mine accessories in 3.2? Because we already saw a I-200 ring and a speed kill.
That's a shot. Not a lot of people are gonna catch that shot, but that's a shot.
I wanted to keep the fucking.
For like the 30 people in chat that understand that reference, that's hilarious.
God damn it.
Rinchan, Layla, will you be going Fim Row for progression?
Pass.
Okay. It's secret. You can't tell anybody, right?
It's not worse than you are now.
Right.
So.
All right, and then okay, Purador, did you enlarge a picture of Manipulator and tape it to the whiteboard to stare it down? Layla?
No, but I should have. In hindsight, actually.
Uh,
Manipulator really got to my head a few days, and I think pasting him on that whiteboard might have done the trick.
yeah.
I'll remember that for Midas.
Okay.
This whiteboard needs to see more play for sure. It doesn't get utilized as much as it should.
Yeah, I definitely think you should.
I have it right there. Why
Yeah,
not?
why
use
not? I mean, I want to put one back here just for the fun of it. And just
Just for
scribble
the
stuff
fun.
on it. I'll look like I have
That's
complicated
fun.
strategies out there. Like I'll draw pictures of like the bosses in like A8S, and I'll make it
That's
look
what I
like
should
I'm actually practicing it. Yeah, and I'm not.
That's what I should do before I come on here. I should just have all sorts of algorithms and equations written on there, and then it's
Makes
just all
no
good.
sense.
Yeah. We have some more questions here, but unfortunately we don't have time to get to them. Although we will have these guys on in the future. I'm sure of it. You guys.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Yeah, and we'll have lots of those. We'll have multiple 3.2 questions, I'm sure, coming up in the future, too. I want to take the second here just to make sure that you guys understand how much I really appreciate you coming on tonight, and it means a lot. You guys are wonderful. I love
I
having
want
you
to
on.
say, it's been a
Thanks,
pleasure.
Thanks, yeah.
Yeah, I speak for both me and myself when I say it's been a pleasure coming on your show. We both feel that you've done a great job with your show. We're happy to celebrate it and support it in any way we can. I actually, you have a lot of my FC members on this show over the
Yeah.
past couple
Yeah.
months.
I've realized
And,
that, yeah.
I speak really on behalf of my FC when I say, we all really enjoy your show. We love what you've done with MogTalk. We really enjoy the content you put out, and we're all happy to support in any way we can. So, props to you.
Man, that means a lot. Thanks a lot. Shout out to Elysium for being awesome. Hey, you guys have been absolutely awesome, especially with me and getting in some really quality shows. We've had some extremely quality shows because you guys know what you're talking about, and it means a lot to have some people who know what they're talking about talking. That's what people want to see. They want to say, all right, well, these guys definitely know what they're talking about. I want to listen to what they have to say. And we got to do another healer show with you too, Miunih, even if you're not healer anymore.
That's
Black Mage healing.
Healed for long enough. Black Mage healing. I got my physic.
Yeah.
So, it'll be good.
Okay, so I want to do a quick segment to let you guys have shout-outs. Do you want to do any shout-outs to anyone, Layla?
Sure. Obvious shout out to my free company, Elysium. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting my goals and my team's goals. Shout out to my new raid team. I'll be playing with a new raid team, patch 3.2. Really excited for that. Mia will be joining me in that. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I always love new challenges, and this will be a really fun venture. Yeah. So other than that, shout out to you. Shout out to MogTalk. Thanks for having us again.
Of course.
Big 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you. I honestly, I was having some Kleenex motions during the first run of that trailer. I don't know. It was.
I called you out in the chat. You'll see in the VOD.
Don't
Oh, really?
Yeah, I called you out.
Oh, man. All right, Miunih, do you have any shout-outs you want to do?
Definitely to Elysium. Like, they've been supporting us since day one of whenever it was created, and I fucking love them, and it's great. It's always fun, even if you don't have anything to do. You can just talk to them, and it's a really good community.
Yeah.
I don't know. Shout out to my Twitter followers, I guess.
Yeah, I love your Twitter, by the way.
It's a lot
3.2 was great. I love that trailer. And then as soon as it came out, it's like every single thought. Just like, it's a stream of conscious. It's great.
That's what Twitter.
I just want to type it.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and head out and start getting prepped for the next segment, which is actually going to involve Denzing and Shaman Arc, which are going to come on for a little bit of a more theory crafting idea show, I guess. They want to talk about bringing in a system from Final Fantasy XI to Final Fantasy XIV and how it could actually work out with sub-jobs and how that could really maybe even add a little bit more variety to the game. And Miunih, it might be exciting for you because you kind of want those options out there. So I don't know, maybe you're kind of tired of it.
I'm really fucking tired. I've been awake for like 24 hours now.
Oh, Jesus. What time is it there?
It's 4 a.m., 5 a.m. So.
All right, man. Go get some sleep.
Well.
All right, guys. Let's do our waving.
Thanks, Frosty.
Yeah, of course. Let's do our waving here real quick. I'm going to switch to the other one, turn the music on. And bye, guys. Wait 10 more minutes. I'll be back.